Welcome everyone. Grand Gnosis Master Dr. Thor Templar here. And an interesting thing has come up in the regards to emotions and magic in general, and particularly ritual magic. Now the usual untrained, self-appointed experts are out there babbling their bull again. The diarrhea mouth never ends from the uneducated or those who seek to pick your pockets. So, now emotions are very interesting when it comes in. Now, in general in life, emotions have no value in your life whatsoever. They do nothing for you. Well, what about positive emotions, Stu? Well, positive emotions are just as bad as negative emotions. Being happy or overly excited at anything is a perverse state of being. It's not normal. Life is not like that. Life is not about ecstatic states of feeling wonderful. As a matter of fact, they're a drug unto themselves. Because isn't really that what all high is about? Whether it's from pot or booze or sex or anything else, you feeling good. Is that a really good thing to actually help you in life? Well, in general, it does nothing because it's an artificial high drug state, however it's achieved. So it's negative. So that is not a positive state to be in. And seeking pleasure is one of the major causes for addictions and all the other problems we have in life. And a lot of people think that they don't get that. That's what all addictions are about, is the pleasure button you want to push all the time. People who are addicts for drugs, addicts for sex, everything else is all about the pleasure button. It's happy emotions, which basically add into being negative. Now, negative emotions, again, can be very self-destructive. So you have to be careful that when you're acting upon negative thoughts, if you call them negative, they're just a type of thought, meaning what you would call of more destruction. But, if you want to build a beautiful building, you're going to have to wreck the crappy one that's there to begin with, or there certainly is enough destruction that needs to be done out there of negative blockages in life and things and people that have to be done. But it has to be done in a proper way. If you do it emotionally, you're going to get yourself into problems. So you don't want to deal from emotions, you want to deal from a particular way. So you don't go into things giving emotions. And this is one of the things being now taught by a lot of boobalicious ritual magicians out there apparently. And this is very common. This has been perpetrated by pretty much Satanists as well, who think that somehow putting every ounce of emotion into some sort of particularly, quote, cursing ritual generates something. It does absolutely nothing. And if you're working, as they claim, through spirits, the spirits are draining you dry. They're vampiring you because they love all this kind of hateful sexual energies, etc. Because that's the kind of energies they work on and the kind of energies that they vampire from you. They're not going to take this energy and make it work for you. That's not how it is. Ritual magic is about invoking and evoking, the bringing spirit into you that then works through you to manifest what you desire, or evoking a spirit that you prefer not to have living in your house and commanding it to assist you. And there's a whole process of doing this, which I will not get into, and you have to train yourself. But using emotions is the worst possible thing you can do. There's been no show that emotions in any kind of metaphysical practice are assisting of you. They do not make things happen. Now, high states of anger and emotions have been proven to produce some PK effects, meaning a telekinesis effect where things move or fall off of shelves, these kind of things. Now, this is very common and has been pretty much tested and proven from parapsychologists. So, when they've researched people that are arguing and screaming and all these other type of things, what really and there's been documented cases of things falling off of shelves and whatever, glasses breaking, etc. This has been demonstrated fairly well that this kind of high emotional activity does create a telekinesis reality. But it's not an entire part of it. It's a kind of a raw, primitive way of doing things. Most telekinesis that is performed in laboratories and other places is done in a trance state, a meditative type altered state. And everything that you manifest comes from an altered state, regardless of what this is. And there may be many. There are simple ones. You don't have to be a babbling baboon to be in a trance state speaking tongues like the boobalicious Christians do, which is basically a satanic possession state, to get things to happen. So it is an altering from the common consciousness into another one. And this is a vast area that needs to be further researched. But certainly everyone goes into some state of higher functioning once they learn to trance out somehow, meaning they're stopping the common toxic mind. That's really what it's all about. Once the toxic mind is taken out of the picture, a giant energy void opens up, which you then start to access, and you can use this for anything. This is not open through emotions, which cloud all these things, tend to close down all your energy chakras, your energy empowerments that are throughout your entire body, your brain, and all the things that go with it, the more physical aspects. All of this are generally achieved through the quieting down of things, not the speeding up. It has been shown and proven without a doubt that everybody who does anything generally goes into some sort of 8 hertz opening energy or frequency within their consciousness. Every time, every type of shaman, every type of psychic, when they've put measuring instruments on their head, everything goes into 8 hertz, plain and simple. So this is, I believe this is a gateway state. I believe there are much higher states behind it, but to get into the higher states, you need to go into the gateway 8 hertz. This isn't achieved through emotions. So if you show a spirit that you're a weak, sniveling cry, please help me, I need this bad, this does absolutely nothing. Some satanic practitioners said you have to put every bit of your hostile cursing energies into something to affect someone. Nonsense. That doesn't work. That kind of thing is putting out energies that are dissipated almost instantly and doesn't affect them whatsoever. There is no benefit to any of this stuff. So going into that and fatiguing yourself, draw and emotional energy fatigues all the energy centers that you need to empower your work. The core energies that emotions draw out of you are the core energies that all your higher empowerment abilities need. Very, very negative. Now, it doesn't mean that you walk around like the proverbial Spock on Star Trek, who is in this neutral zone all the time, but you have to be centered, as this is all explained in great detail in the centering book, which is the ultimate occult secret that I have written. I've also written 25 other books, 5 courses. I've been on the BBC, CNN, I've been in the Art Bell Show, I've been featured in magazines, articles, and I've been studying this for 40 years. So I'm not some self-appointed expert. I've worked hard to get where I have. I have a doctorate in subtle energy physics, and I've been running organizations for over 40 years. So what I speak of is coming from a high level of a person who's achieved gnosis. So being in this particular state of consciousness, which is a heightened state of understanding and basically a neutral state of well-being, meaning life is basically fine. You're not jumping off the ceilings because you're in some fake ecstatic state that you've created with either drugs or sex or whatever else, the psychos that do it with religion. It has nothing to do with that, nor is it the fact of living in a dark world of destruction and evil, so being depressed and down all the time. Well, that certainly is not a good state to be in either. So you want to be in that ecstatic state of neutrality, which is called being centered. From there, you can go into trance states and other things very easily. But you're living in a reality where things basically don't bother you as much. So you have to be very careful when you let things bother you, but you consciously do it, and you're consciously in control and understand what that is going to get you. What is the end result here? Think before you do things. So it's when you're in an emotional state, you don't. Whether you're in an emotional state of high excitement, which is considered positive, to negative states that cause you to do actions that will also result in negativity. So this is all based in emotions and has no value to anything that you do. The small benefits you get from heightened states of anger that create PK are worthless, because those states usually you have absolutely no control of what you're doing. So even if this works when you're that excited, it's because you're targeting a particular person, place, or thing, and this is really not what you're seeking as a person trying to manifest something. So you need a lot more control than these states give you. Now, whether you can use those states as a trained higher consciousness person, well, you can if you are doing it in controlled and not strictly out of anger with an uncontrolled seeing red, so to speak. So you have to do things in a controlled and conscious way. Using emotions in any way is a very fallacy. This comes from the pretty much the dark lighters, the left-hand path idiots, who have now been saying this for several years. It's just nonsense. It's an easy way out for uncontrolled, undisciplined practitioners, which is pretty much your typical Satanist and your typical chaos magician, which is the same. Chaos magician means use anything, do anything, and they're deluded losers, and it's a horrible system of magic that produces nothing. So, as with all these other people, they have little to show for their great big mouths, their great demon worship. Where is their manifestations? I see none of it. None of these organizations have done well as we go back in history. Well, what have they ever done? And who cares what kind of following they have on contrived social media, which they have paid for their followings? These people are not participatory. People like to talk tough, but they're never out there standing in front of you willing to get into battle. They're standing behind you ready to run. That's your typical Satanist. So remember, emotions are going to get you nowhere. Use concentrated energies, connect to spirits, and command and request energies and actions from them in a properly balanced reality. Until next time.